Good morning and welcome to the Really Helpful Club. I'm Sarah Austin, and this is the latest in our In Conversation With series, where we shine the spotlight on different entrepreneurs, business owners, and leading experts in our network. Now, this morning, I'm going to be talking to Dara Ford. Dara is the founder and she runs Dara Ford Designs. And Dara is on a mission to make women feel confident and comfortable in the clothes that they wear. And I'm excited to be talking to Dara this morning. She's going to be sharing the inspiration behind the business, talking about her motivation, some of the things that she learnt. And here she is.
Morning.
Dara, good morning. Do you want to say hello to everyone that's joined us?
Yes, good morning. It's really good to be here, and I'm looking forward to chatting to you and taking questions as well if there are any.
Super, fantastic. Well, we love that actually, and we love to get as much engagement as possible. So I know we've got one or two people who've joined us already. So this is your chance to shine the spotlight on Dara, ask her anything you've ever wanted to ask her, and you can pop that into the comments box. And also, even it's just to show appreciation for some of the work she does, if you're a client of hers, we want to know about it. This is our chance to learn everything and anything about Dara. So, Dara, the purpose behind these conversations that we run, and I think you're my 40th interviewee, and I just love these. Absolutely love these. But they're so motivating. They're so interesting because I think so often we just sort of see the front face of someone. You know, we just see the product, the service, the business owner, and actually what we really want to do is peel those layers of the onion off and sort of get to who you are, the motivation behind the business as well. And it's what I love about this series that we run. It's hearing someone's journey, and I think often learning about your journey is every bit as interesting as understanding the destination and where you've got to. So tell us a little bit about you and your background and how you've got to where you are now.
Sure. So I guess what really defines me in quite a big way is my multicultural upbringing. I'm British Canadian. I was born in Canada. My mother's from the States, but I grew up in Germany. So feeling that kind of, it's a strange sense where you don't feel like you belong in anywhere entirely. So growing up in Germany, you might think that the cultures between Canada, America, Britain and Germany are maybe not that different, but I think although they're all sort of Western countries, there is still a difference. And I did experience that as a child, not in a negative way, but I think it was clear to me that I was not quite like the other children around me. And I think that sort of then informed the way I felt about dressing as well. You know, I would be sent clothes from my family in the States and they were wonderful. I loved to wear them, but clearly I looked a little bit different than the other children around me. And so I think quite early on in a very natural way, I discovered that how you dress can really make you feel a part of a community or also make you stand out. And so the importance of dressing and feeling like you belong, or maybe wanting to stand out because you don't want to fit in, that just became quite clear to me early on.
And it's really interesting what you say, actually, and I think that carries great symbolism in the world that we live in today, and recognizing the importance of inclusion, but also recognizing the importance of diversity as well, and being respectful and cognizant of the different cultures, the different ways that people want to present themselves, and to be inclusive to all, I think is incredibly important. You will be thrilled to know that we've got a comment in there straight away which says "Go Canada." So we've got a very partisan audience already, but is very very excited about your sort of Canadian roots. So thank you for sharing that. Now, I mean, I've known you a long time. I think we've known each other for about sort of 5 or 6 years since I was starting out with Really Helpful Club, and I remember sort of watching your journey, and it's been so interesting. But let's kind of rewind back to the beginning, where Dara Ford Designs began, and tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind the business. You know, what was your light bulb moment? Why do you do what you do?
I'll try to keep it brief. It's kind of I've worked in fashion for over 20 years, so there's a lot of stories there. And I did, you know, I started making my own clothes as a teenager, I think partly out of necessity. We didn't have all that much money, and it was a great way to sort of have beautiful clothes. Well, I probably would be a bit more critical about how they were made, but you know, owning clothes that I wanted to wear and being different in that way. So I guess my dressmaking journey started then. And then, so where did Dara Ford start, really? I had been working for a small London label, which had won New Generation Award from the British Fashion Council. That was my first job out of university. And I was really thrown in at the deep end, and learned a lot about production and design. So it was a really fantastic time there, very stressful, but really formative. And I guess I wanted to set up my own label along the same lines. So designing a collection, wholesaling it into boutiques, and kind of going into the traditional fashion.
Dara, we lost you just there, and so where you got to was what I think you probably had some sort of interruption. So just rewind slightly. So you wanted to get a clothing label, to launch a clothing label and get it into boutiques. If I
exactly.
had interrupted you correctly. So
that's right. I was going to wholesale my collection into boutiques. That's what I intended, and for various reasons that didn't quite take off, and it's very difficult. You need to have a lot of money to break into that world. But I think what was more important, something else that held me back, was that there was a disconnect with my values. So boutiques at that time, this is more than 10 years ago, you could offer them a good range of sizes, but they would often only buy up to a size 14, if that. Some would even stop at a size 12. And for me, that just didn't feel right. The average size of women in the UK is a 14 to 16. And so if you think about it from that angle, most women were being excluded from this luxury fashion experience. They, you know, going into boutiques, they couldn't find anything that would fit them. And that just didn't sit well with me. I wanted to have a label. I was clear from the outset that as a minimum, I was going to offer it up to size 18. And, you know, just coming up against those blocks, it just didn't feel right for me. And then for personal reasons as well, I think knowing the fashion industry and how all consuming it is, I wasn't sure it was going to fit around a family, which I also wanted to have. So I kind of quite naturally went back to my roots in haute couture, which is to make individual pieces for clients. And the beauty of that is I can dress the woman that is in front of me. She doesn't have to change herself in any way. She doesn't have to go on a diet to lose weight and fit into some kind of, you know, designer piece that she wants. I can really cut and tailor something for her as she is. And that is just really, really powerful and amazing.
It's so interesting, some of the things you said there, which I think will really be resonating with other people who are either running their own business or they're involved, you know, in the clothing and fashion industry. You know, that whole thing there about aligning your values is incredibly important. And I think regardless of what industry you're in, or whether you actually even run a business, actually feeling that something is consistent with your values, your ethos that matters to you, it is really important. And you can sort of wing it in the short term, but in the longer run, it has to work. And I think that's incredibly brave of you, because it's very easy at that sort of early stage, particularly of starting a business, of, well, look, I'll go to where the volume is. I'll go to where I think the business will be, because that stands me a better chance perhaps of succeeding. And so I think that really sort of, you know, deserves applause and recognition, because that was a very brave stance to take. And I think the other thing that you raised, which is again so interesting, and it's just, I don't think the narrative is understood or talked about enough, is the importance of finance. And I can see this with, you know, with well, I mean, so many other sectors and industries, but I think particularly in the fashion and in the clothing industry as well, just how important it is to have that money to be able to get started, to get going, to accelerate, you know, those early days. So I think that's brilliant. You know, thank you for sharing that so candidly. You know, which was interesting. So so that was the inspiration. That's how you got started, which, you know, incredibly brave. I mean, you know, even beyond the ethos and the finance sort of ideas that you've raised, actually just taking that leap and launching your own business, and particularly in the sector in which you're operating, I think is really commendable as well. And so tell us a little bit more about the services that you provide. You talked about the you talked about being able to work individually with a woman, being able to make her feel that this is sort of unique and special to her. But what exactly do you do? And if I was a prospective client of yours, what would I come to you and expect?
So I offer a range of services. At the top end is bespoke tailoring, where I cut a pattern to your body shape and it's individually designed and made for you. It also involves a lot of haute couture and kind of bespoke tailoring techniques, so hand sewing, and a bespoke tailored suit, for example, can take 100 hours to make. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, yeah, and it requires at least, I'd say, 3 to 4 fittings to really perfect. And then there's also the next service I offer is made to measure. So often people kind of confuse bespoke and made to measure. They're actually quite different. So with made to measure tailoring, you're working from existing patterns, you're working from existing blocks. So a kind of basic design, and that is adapted to your measurements, but it's not made entirely for you from scratch. And there's a huge scope and range within that, but there's certain styles that are not possible. And then I've recently launched a few ready-to-wear pieces as well, which is, sorry, my voice is a bit funny this morning. With the ready-to-wear, that's really where I can express my own designs. And what was important to me was to have a line of tailoring, which is really specifically designed for women. What I mean by that is it's not just a copy of a men's blazer adapted to a woman's shape, but it's actually a design that is cut for women's curves and the way we wear things, and it's just slightly different. So if you see that design on my website, for example, it has a draped collar, it's asymmetric, it has a really fitted waist, so it's not your sort of standard blazer style. And then another idea I actually had back as a student when I was studying fashion design was to have a printed lining. And she's actually live with us, I think. Ida is my best friend from university. She helped me design the graphics for this lining. It features quotes by women in history, over 20 women in history. And the idea I had with that is, I'm thinking of a woman who works in a male-dominated environment. Maybe she's the only woman in the room, and she can feel quite isolated and alone. And having this lining with these wise words in the inside of her jacket, the idea was, these women have got your back. You can bring this sisterhood with you, and you've got that support from history, women who've done amazing things, and it kind of inspires you to go out there and improve the world for the next generation of women as well. So there's one quote which is by my daughter, my eldest daughter, Anira, and she wanted to contribute when she saw me working on this. And so she wrote, act like a rose, shine like a star. So there is that link of women in history, the women wearing these designs now, and then the women of the future.
That is an amazing story, and I'm so pleased you shared that. And I think it's really interesting because we do a lot of work with career coaches and helping people from every aspect of their life and at every stage of their life, but particularly helping women to take their next step forward. And some of the work that we do is around dealing with the inner critic, and everyone will know about what I'm talking about there, where it's you want to find that confidence, you want to be able to take that next step forward, but it's really difficult. And I think we're all honest with ourselves, we do suffer from that inner critic that is acting as an inhibitor to stop us from taking that next step. And to know that you can represent that in the clothing, it's so symbolic. It's amazing. So Ida, thank you very much for joining us. I noticed you waved and acknowledged you're here, so thank you, welcome. But I'm sure you'd like to put a comment into the comments box to say how you feel about Dara and the work she does. And on that note, we've got so many of you joining us now. Please do pop onto the comments box, say hello, ask a question. we always say, look, this is a really safe space. I know we are on Instagram Live, so it's fairly public, obviously as public as possible, because we want to share the message about Dara. But this is a chance for you to ask her a question as well. And if you are a client, then do pop in a comment about how you feel about her work, because this is how we make the world go round, and how we shine the spotlight on these amazing entrepreneurs and clever and talented and brilliant women within our network, and doing such interesting things to empower and lift other women as well. So Dara, thank you. And do you want to add anything to that? I mean, I think that offers a really unique angle in terms of the services you offer and the business inspiration. But is there anything else you want to add to what makes the business unique?
So I think I have a unique mix of skills that I bring to what I do. I'm not a traditional bespoke tailor. I have trained in haute couture. I have a degree in fashion design. And I also have, taken additional courses in traditional British bespoke tailoring. But it's that unique mix of skills that I think benefit my clients, because I come at a project for them from a creative angle, along with the technical skills to make it real. But I think it's also, a lot of them appreciate that they're working with a woman who really understands how they feel about their bodies, that we have bad days, where we look in the mirror and we hate everything about ourselves, who maybe understands what it's like to, have children and your body shape changing. And, I'm now sort of approaching perimenopause, and, what does that do with your body? And how does that make you feel? So I think it's that sort of ability to empathize with them that they also value from working with me. And for me, I think what drives me is seeing the profound impact it has on my clients. We can sometimes think that fashion and style is sort of a fluffy thing that's nice to have, but not essential. But I can tell you, when I see, there's always this kind of spine tingling moment. Really, I have shivers when I see it happen, where my clients look at themselves in a piece I've made for them and they see themselves differently. They stand taller, their energy shifts. It's like you dial up the light or something, and they just become more fully themselves. And that is really, really amazing to see, and just such a privilege to be able to help happen.
Absolutely. And you can feel that energy and what you do for women. And you're absolutely right that it's that sense of empowerment. It's being the best version of yourself, being able to feel that you really can put your next step forward and do it, 100%. Got a great question here from someone who says, does Dara tailor for men too?
So I don't. However, I do have a male client who is wonderful. But what I make for him are skirts. So he is a very smart, wonderful man, and he simply wants to be able to wear skirts like women wear trousers. He is not in drag, he's not trans, he just simply enjoys wearing skirts. And so, again, for him, being able to have something that is tailored to his shape is amazing. And I could really experience that shift for him as well, where he could just be fully himself because something actually fit him. So in that sense, yes, I do tailor for men, but I don't do traditional men's tailoring. So I can, connect to some amazing men's tailors that I know.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for that. And the person who's asked that comment says excellent. So great answer to that one. Yeah. And love that. Yeah, you're getting some great comments. So thank you. So one of the themes that we have covered in the last couple of years, we started this right at the beginning of the pandemic, was every entrepreneur that we've spoken to in the last couple of years has adapted to the changing environment and the needs of their clients. And so perhaps you could share your journey of what you've had to do and how you've helped people during this time, and how you might have adapted your own services.
Yes, I mean, it's been a real challenge building my business over the last decade. I've had 3 children in that time, so that in itself was a challenge. And then I really felt like I had started to build momentum, and then COVID happened, and it felt like the rug was pulled out from under me, much like other people experienced too. And I think it wasn't so easy at first to think about how can I continue offering my services. For a while, I sort of changed tack. I was making scrubs. I was part of a local community of women making scrubs for the NHS. And then I ended up making a lot of face masks as well. So just adapting to the initial needs of the moment. But then after a while, I did kind of think, well, this is going to take longer than maybe we want. You know, we're not going to be back in person anytime soon. So I started offering online consultations and doing the made to measure services online too. And that was actually surprisingly successful. So I can't really do bespoke online because that really requires in-person fittings. But made to measure is possible to an extent. So I would talk my clients through how to measure themselves. Hopefully they had somebody to help them. I could check that they're measuring at the right points. And I could also kind of look at their body shapes and take that into account. You know, do they have a dropped shoulder, you know, one shoulder slightly lower than the other, or, you know, what is their overall shape? And then have those pieces made and sent to them. And then either they fit perfectly, which did happen on a couple of occasions, or if they needed some tweaks, we could then discuss if they send it back to me and I do that, or they take it to a local alterations tailor and I refund them for that. So it's been a really successful service. And even for bespoke tailoring now, I can sometimes have a virtual consultation first before people have to travel to me. So it saves time. We can kind of meet, see each other face to face, find out whether we want to work together, and it saves them time and me as well.
Brilliant. And I think there, you know, just reinforcing what so many businesses did, where, you know, yours was a business that you absolutely would, I think on the face of it, think would struggle to pivot, to change, to, you know, to adapt to the environment. But that shows, you know, true innovation, true resourcefulness, and then what you were doing to support the NHS and in your efforts with the scrubs, I think again is incredibly commendable. And here we've got another lovely comment. I appreciated the scrubs made for staff vaccinating, amazing colours and really appreciated. So you know, so that certainly didn't go unnoticed. And then this other comment, which is lovely. It was such a privilege to be working on the print with Dara. It uplifted me, and sure it will do to others. It will to others whom will wear it. Lovely to hear your chat. So thank you very much to Ida for sharing that. And that brings me to my next point is, look, it's hard work running a business. You know, you've talked about the, you know, the difficulties and the challenges of being able to be true to your ethos, to your values, and some of the, you know, the tough aspects of finance as well. But what do you find the most rewarding part of running your own business?
I think it's really the feedback I get from my clients. So I had, you know, one comment which was just wonderful. It's a client of mine. She's a journalist, and you know, a journalist in sort of world's what's the word? I can't think. Anyway, she just said, I made her a pair of trousers, and she said, wearing these trousers makes me feel like I belong in the boardroom with all these other men in their bespoke suits. And so that is really the feeling that I want to create for my clients, is that they feel like they deserve and they belong to be in the boardrooms of the companies they work for. So it was perfect because it really summed up my mission. But then also, you know, from other clients, I have one I made, again, trousers. It's a common theme. A lot of women struggle to find trousers. She hadn't worn trousers for 7 years because she couldn't find any to fit her. And I've made her, I think, 3 pairs now. And just the freedom that gives her, the way she can now change up her wardrobe and feel more comfortable when she's out and about and she's not so limited or only in yoga pants. Yeah, it's kind of that real life impact you have on somebody. And also a recent client, she's a cancer survivor, amazing woman. She's a managing director. Obviously her body has changed because of the cancer treatment she went through. She suffers from lymphedema. She has to wear a sleeve on her arm to kind of compress her arm, because otherwise it can swell up a lot. And so again, trying to find things that fit her, but also make her feel like a managing director, it is really hard for her. And so I've made 4 suits for her now. And, you know, just knowing how she feels in herself now, and fully accepting of the changes that have happened in her body, and still loving herself now, that's just really, really amazing.
Thank you for that. And we're getting some lovely comments. I know we've got one or two people who have just joined us. So do ask any question you would like. We're talking to Dara Ford, who's the founder of Dara Ford Designs. And so if you have any questions you want to put to Dara, please put them in the comments box. And again, like so many other people who have done this, sort of tuning in now, please do write any comments if you are an existing client of Dara's, because it's so interesting to hear your journey. And Dara, I guess, you've talked about the rewarding aspect, but what advice would you give to someone who is thinking about starting their business?
So something that's been really transformative for me, and I think I invested in far too late, was business coaching. I think I would advise somebody to seek help, not to do it all alone or feel like you have to do it all alone. I know it can be really hard to find money for these things, but I think it's important to ask for help and to accept help as well. I've had amazing support from family and friends, and sometimes it feels like you don't want to accept it, which is strange because I love helping other people. So sometimes you have to talk to yourself the way you would talk to a good friend and not be so self-critical. But I definitely would say it's always paid for itself when I've invested in coaching. Having that sounding board, having somebody on the outside, someone who's objective and someone who can kind of get you unstuck, keep you moving forward, keep you in action, stop you procrastinating. It's just, they're worth their weight in gold, I'd say.
Yeah, and it can be a pretty lonely place running our own business, and you're absolutely right. You need to surround yourself with a good supportive network, but also with experts who can help you and empower you to take that next step forward. And that's sometimes a very difficult thing to do, and something that we value enormously at Really Help the Club, which is about helping people access those experts, but allows you to to find your next step and to find the resources and the expertise that you're looking for. And we've got here another lovely comment. That's a great tip. So thank you for that, Helen. So this has been an amazing conversation. We've covered so much, and I think we've seen you come so far, adapt, pivot, growing the business, which what feels like a really exciting future ahead of you. And it's obviously been an extraordinary couple of years. But if we sit down and have another chat in 1 or 2 years' time, hopefully, sooner than that, what do you think you'll be telling us then? If we're looking back in the rear mirror of the next 2 years, sort of going forward, where do you think your business will be going?
So I think for the last, up until now, the business has been synonymous with me. I have been the business has been me. And in 2 years' time or 1 year's time, I'd really like to be heading up a team and having, a range of amazing women, men working with me, people that can help me make the clothes, because I'm really getting to the limit of my own time. And I can't be doing night shifts all the time. So, I'm sort of starting to build my team, and that feels really amazing. I think only a short time ago, I couldn't quite imagine how that would feel or even look like. But now I can really see that I can be at the head of the business and the business be this entity on its own. Something that I lead, but something that isn't completely wound up only with me. Completely
agree. You're ready for that next stage in your business growth.
Yeah.
And after, I think a very important and, a very successful couple of years, but ready to take that next step forward. Dara, it has been an absolute pleasure. As ever, anyone that's sort of seen me doing these interviews will see that I always feel like I'm writing an essay when I'm listening to these interviews, because they're so interesting. And this has been, no different. It has, been enlightening, empowering, and so informative. So thank you very much. And just to sort of sum up, I've written down a few things, but I feel like I could, I just want to replay this straight away. And we will be sharing this on our YouTube channel. We'll be sharing this on the Really Help the Club website, and obviously across social media. So if you've enjoyed this, and I know we've had some fantastic comments and some lovely questions from everyone, please don't keep this to yourself. Please share this. Put friends of yours in touch with Dara who might be interested in her ready-to-wear range or her bespoke tailoring range, or or just to be able to get to know her and find how she may be able to help you or them. So just to finish, there is no perfect size, only the perfect fit. Every woman should have the opportunity to own clothing that fits her perfectly and makes her feel confident, powerful, and like they belong in the boardroom. Who doesn't want that? And to find a like-minded community and invest in help before you think you need it, or perhaps before you can afford it. And I would like to finish with your daughter's amazing comment, to act like a rose and to shine like a star. Dara Ford, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.